I'm sorry. My favorite thing is listening to you talk so beautifully about this character who is a serial killer that talks to imaginary cartoon animals. I'm like, he's a fucking nutbag. He's nuts.
Eric, there are a lot of in-world situations through the season. I think it's great and it's funny, you know, like the movie, the reality show, the transmission in social media, or this news section with a very specific agenda that it's like funny and terrifying at the same time. So how did you come up with the idea to take this to the reality, you know, because I was on Instagram and I watched like this statement from both, and it's like, you know, so how did...
Yeah, it ended up becoming, I mean, it sort of evolved. I mean, the show tries to be just this very realistic version of what would happen if superheroes existed and the media that would form around them. And so then it just started with us doing like the in-world commercials and the products and all of those, you know, things. And then the social media team at Prime Video, like, they started picking up on the joke, and so then they would post things on social that were all like in character, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. It was just like double the pancakes, double the fun. It just became such a big thing. And honestly, my favorite thing, and I've never seen it before, is so now the fans are commenting in character, role playing as if they're living in the world.
I did not know that.
It's amazing.
That's
like if
so
you go to
cool.
if you go to YouTube to the VOT International videos, they have like these like you can spend hours. Wow. People are like forming an entire narrative spontaneously, and like it's just.
That's so rad.
It's so wonderful and amazing, and has never happened on any of my stuff before, so it's been a pleasure.
Hey, yo!
We've been on the straight and narrow all year. No killing soups.
Karl, in this season we learned a lot of things about Butcher, like where this brutality came from, or why he refuses to be like a father figure for Ryan, and the violence, even his expressions and the words that he uses, you know, that's very interesting. But before all that, we had the chance to watch his relationship with Becca, and he was very sensitive and he was very romantic. So which part do you think defines his true self? Because sometimes he's very like monstrous, you know, but we had a chance to watch like this like vulnerable part of him with Becca.
Yeah, I think the fantastic thing about the relationship with Becca is that in that given moment she brought out the best in him, and that's why her loss was just so tragic for him, because he already has abandonment issues and dealing with the pain and grief and trauma of his childhood, to so have this angel in his life who literally rescued him from being the worst version of himself, and then to lose that and to know what he's lost, because he's very self-aware. It's the fuel to why he goes after Homelander. You know, he loved that woman so much. Yeah.
But real power isn't this. It's the ability to bend the world to your will.
The core of this season is the fracture in these parental figures and relationships, you know, especially between father and son, because we have Soldier Boy and Homelander and Ryan and Butcher and his dad and his brother, and we also have Mr. Edgar and Victoria, you know, but that's interesting because Victoria is the only one who situation in her favor, you know, and she betrayed her father in a certain way, and that's very interesting. Definitely. So I would like to know if that situation is special for Victoria because she's a mother and she understands that this like protective instinct, or why she did that.
I think it's a huge thing for Newman. Edgar is essentially her father, a father figure to her. He took her in when she was younger. And he's the only person that she's ever truly trusted and loved and felt accepted by. Just those basic human needs that you have growing up, that you want from a father, from a mother. And so it's an ultimate betrayal that she makes of the one person that she's closest to. And then on top of that, she makes another sacrifice of her daughter for her daughter. And that really is such an intense core moment for her in the season, because it feels as though she's traveling further and further and further into that morally grey, and kind of at the cost of her own humanity. And that act that she does for her daughter is kind of like the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
And she's giving her daughter a life. She's stealing her daughter's life from her. She's giving her daughter the life that she has, and there's so much trauma that comes with that. With any superhero character on the show, like their powers benefit them, but they're also their demise.
Yeah.
So she's stripping her daughter's childhood from her life from her. She's ruining her daughter's life to save her.
This is some tough stuff, I know. But when you gave him to the Russians, you knew Soldier Boy would come back one day. You need to face him.
The Boys is a great series because all the characters face the consequences of all of their acts, and that's very, very interesting. And the animated sequence, it's great because it's funny and sad at the same time. But I think it's great because it's the only way that we can get into the mind of Black Noir, because he can speak. We can watch his face, but we can understand emotionally through these animated characters. So it's very I don't know how to describe it. It's very sad, but it's funny, but it's sad. So I would like to know how Eric Kripke told you about this sequence and told you about these characters, because I understand that these characters have been for a long time with Black Noir, since he was like a kid. So
yeah. Honestly, I found out reading the script, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But I thought it was such a perfect realization of his inner world. I think Eric and I have been talking a long time about who Noir is and what goes on, on an inner level for him. And the more we've discovered the character, the more this juvenile, youthful nature, we found to exist. And I think there's, with Noir not speaking, part of that is brain damage and it's trauma, but the way he copes with things is by retreating inwards and retreating into the past. And there's it's a therapy for him. It's a way he self-soothes. It's a way he copes with his state in life. And I think it's a perfect reflection of his inner nature, and it contrasts well with what he has to do for a living, which is kill people.
Yeah.
The button at the end.
I'm sorry. My favorite thing is listening to you talk so beautifully about this character who is a serial killer that talks to imaginary cartoon animals. I'm like, he's a fucking nutbag. He's nuts.
He's
He's nuts.
He's more than
If you met Black Noir and he could speak, you would be cross the street.
No, that's what people think. But just like Homelander is he's not a psychopath to you, right? He's a complex person.
Yeah, but I can also say that he objectively is.
Yes, but also we're just looking.
I
at
love hearing you talk about it.
humanity.
You talk beautifully about
I love you too.
About your dude,
I love
and
you
I love it.
I think he's thoughtful, though. I mean, when he cuts the chip out of his arm in the elevator, he hands it to the lady.
Yeah.
It's nice, He doesn't just throw it at her or drop it on the ground.
In the opening of
has
season
manners.
2, when you took that ripped that guy's head off, but you did this terrified child he went with the little doll. Such a sweet man.
Really
I
sensitive.
was way off base.
There's a lot of love in there. There's a lot of love.
What was I thinking?
Everyone needs a hug on the show.
Many hugs needed for everyone.
Everyone in this room.
A lot of hugs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jesus, Butcher needs the most hug.
Butcher, like, don't touch me. He needs a hug.
The gloves are off. Thought we could fight Vought the right way, but we can't. It's all rigged. We have to do it your way.
Jack, the boys constantly talks about the consequences of violence, but not only for women, but for men, And in this season, your character is at the center. He's trying to prove that he's brave and he's strong enough to protect the people that he loves, especially Butcher and Starlight. So do you think that this take on your character is related to that conversation, how violence affects men, and this they need to prove that they are like this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I thought it was really interesting that we complicated Huey this season. He's always had that kind of underlying anger, in season 1 he's punching walls, and he has these fantasy sequences where he wishes he could scream everything that he wants to say at certain people, and then we cut back to reality and it's not the case anymore. But I think that he has had kind of a deep inside he has this toxic masculinity, and having it come out this season was really interesting, and I do think it says something about men and how sometimes we feel the need to be the most macho person in the room when that's very destructive, and that has led to most wars, if we're really thinking about it. I thought that was a really interesting place to put Huey, and yeah, I know all of the stuff with the Compound B brings it out of him, and I don't know, I think it definitely contributes to that conversation. I thought it was fascinating to play. I liked playing a more complicated, less likable Huey, which is a weird thing to say, but I enjoyed it. And I loved being a part of that conversation through that character.
There's something wrong with Homelander. There's something broken.
Anthony, in the beginning, we think that Soldier Boy and Homelander, they are very similar because of this male toxicity, the celebrity status, the way they understand violence and brutality, even the way they treat their romantic relationship, their parents. But then we find out that there is a blood connection between them, and Eric, he has said that this is even more important than the social and cultural context of this link or bond between them. So I would like to know, what do you think about that? Do you think it's even more important, this genetic connection, or the social and cultural context of male toxicity?
Yeah, I think it's definitely more important. I think for my guy at least, I won't speak for Jensen because he's got his own take on things. Probably. For Homelander, he's always wanted, he's always had issues. He's got mummy, daddy, he's Oedipal mess, and always has been. So I think when that bomb drops, that he's actually got someone that is blood related. He doesn't have to seek approval from Edgar, or doesn't need the mummy figure in Stillwell or Stormfront to a certain extent, and doesn't, I think it was Vogelbaum that kind of raised him, not very well, but that was the best he. To all of a sudden have not only a son, there's a legacy, there's a generational union that can take place, and I think that's a big deal for him. That's what he's always wanted throughout his life, and more so as he's gotten older and realized what he hasn't had, and how abnormal. There's always a self-awareness of of the otherness, and so yeah, I think that trumps everything for him. And
Similarly, I feel that Soldier Boy, he even says, he said, I've always wanted a son and somebody to teach and to pass on. The problem is the things that he would be passing on are the very things that make him a horrible person. But not, and that's such a great thing, is it's not in his mind. In his mind, he's teaching his son to be a man, and he's teaching, this is how you do things, and you gotta be tough, and you don't cry, and suppress those feelings, and that's really what I think Kripke has touched on with this character and with this storyline, is is that's not what should be passed on. That's not what we should be teaching our boys. We should be teaching our children compassion, no matter what they are. And so the fact that Soldier Boy now has this opportunity, and now has a son and has realized that, it'll be that's really the question, is like, well, is he going to join up with him and pass on
what's
going to
happen?
Yeah, pass on the things that he's learned and impress upon him his journey through life and what he values, which, as we know, are the wrong values.
They are, but there was a great line in that reveal. Actually, you said, I would have shared the limelight with you.
I would have happily. What father wouldn't want that? What
father wouldn't want that for his son? Right. That was the reveal moment, and it's a very sweet moment. Like everything that the character is stripped away in that moment, and it's a very sweet moment that hits homie in a very as deep as it could
both of them. It hits them.
Yeah.
Both. It's both finding out that there is something that exists that they both want desperately.
Yeah.
Christ, Soldier Boy.
In an interview, you said that Soldier Boy is a hero from another time, the good old days. But his presence in the actual time, it's very revealing because, for example, with Stormfront, we understand that their ways and certain ideologies are very present in the society, so...
Oh yeah, no, Soldier Boy would definitely like to make America great again.
No, yeah, but the question is...
the shortest thing for the past
chills.
Tumbleweed. That's it. Next question.
No, but the question is, do you think there is something from this period of Soldier Boy as a hero and leader that is worth bringing back? Or...
Minefield.
Good luck with that one, pal.
Look, I think that one of the reasons this show is as entertaining as it is because of the flawed characters within it. We get to really expose what we as an audience and as a society have generally accepted since we were children, of these big, larger than life characters being heroes and being on pedestals. And I know for one that when I was a kid, I loved the stories of these comic heroes that I read about. The fact that we get to create an underbelly and a sinister underworld of those characters, I think, is what this show really does so well. So to say that there is, what of value are these characters actually bringing? I think that it really depends on what you value as a person, and what you see as redeemable qualities to these characters. I don't necessarily know that we're playing into those as much as some might think, but
I would just say no.
That's
to Soldier Boy coming forward as a modern day political figure.
Yeah,
I think we need more women.
We've already got a political figure on the show.
We've had a good shot.
Get
We've
out
made a
of
mess. So let's just
that's right.
put women in power.
That's right.
A lot more talking, a lot more diplomacy, a lot less
Good answer.
idiotic.
Support that.
Brawny decisions. Yeah. Go women.
What's this?
Makes you a soup for 24 hours. You're gonna need it.
What I love about The Voice is that always confronts the audience with certain concepts and certain situations that we experience in real life and that we don't usually understand or we don't know how to talk. And the series is great because it's funny, but at the same time it's like terrifying or it's even sad. So how do you achieve this? To maintain that conversation, to push the limits, but especially for the characters, but always respecting that conversation.
Yeah, we always start with the characters. In many ways, television is just the character business, and so the vast majority of our time is spent on their psychologies and their motivations and how do we want them to grow or regress. And we have such an amazingly deep bench of talent who can pull that off. So in the simplest way, it'd be crazy to not, put character forward and make that the main thing. And then, everything else just kind of emerges from that. And, and we're a satirical show and, and we can be quite violent and harsh. But I think that honestly, I wish I could say that came from my brain. I think we lucked into an amazing concept, even though the comic of The Boys was written, well over a decade ago, this happens to be just a really perfect metaphor for a lot of things that are going on in the world right now. And what's great about, a fantasy concept is you can depict the world, but it's just a little off kilter because it has this fantastic element to it, and it just lets people see it in a slightly different way, like a slightly different angle on what's happening in the world. The fantasy and the action and the humor allows them to look at it that way and maybe have a thought that they hadn't, had before. So it's about, honestly, it's just about maintaining that balance.
That's all. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for this series. It's one of the greatest ever.
Thank you
very much
so
for
much.
real.
Cheers.
Fuck!